Microsoft Gaming and Xbox Gaming are an absolute free fall. At this point, there is no chance that they survive in any meaningful way. It is truly a multi-billion-dollar disaster.
Welcome back to the show. Today it's pretty wild. It really is rare that we get a story of this scale, but here it goes. In 2021, 1 year after the Xbox Series consoles stumbled their way into the world, Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella was allegedly considering two options for Xbox. Option A, stop, to basically wind it down and get Microsoft out of the games market. Option B was to double down. Now, Microsoft do deny this report, right? But even though they do deny it, it does seem to fit what we all saw, because at that stage, Microsoft was floundering. The Series consoles were behind their big mascot brand in the form of John Halo, had a rough launch, and we all know how it would go on to go, and the vibes were turning on them. So if you were in Satya Nadella's shoes, what would you do? Get out or double down? And certainly what appears to have happened is a doubling down. Almost $100 billion of acquisitions between Activision Blizzard King and, of course, Bethesda ZeniMax. That is so much money. And I get why. It's a competitive market. Go hard or go home. And as much as, say, Starfield was not a pure win and Redfall was quite the disaster, picking up Activision Blizzard sure did help. In fact, take a look here. This is their recent financials, and you
Okay, this is a lot worse, actually, than Billiard is currently telling us. Because the thing is, if you're the CEO of Microsoft, or whatever division this falls under, you can't just say, okay, I'm a bad CEO, I'm gonna shut it all down because it's not good and I can't manage the storm, I can't figure out anything. No. If you do that, it's only a time before you get fired if you can be fired, or before investors have a vote of non-confidence in you and demand that you get replaced, or the board demands that you are replaced. This is an absolute no-go for any CEO. This is the reason why a lot of CEOs, by the way, burn down companies, because, well, burning down a company at least means you're actually getting a paycheck while you're doing it, but, just saying, oh, I can't figure out this situation is worse than that, because everyone is looking at you then, oh, that's the guy who admitted that he couldn't figure out how to sell games on an already existing juggernaut platform. So, this is absolutely not a thing. And the $100 billion acquisition that they did is out of sheer desperation, because they didn't know what to do. The fact that they are losing to PlayStation has been looming over their heads for years upon years upon years. Trust me, I was not the only analyst who looked at their console sales and said, hey, yeah, Xbox, you're dead in the water if you don't do anything. They probably had hundreds of people telling them the same thing, because this is not some kind of esoteric knowledge that I have. It's stuff a lot of analysts that are not trash at their job are capable of figuring out pretty easily. So, at this point, when everything is pretty much over, they need to start acquiring things. And trust me, while Billiard says that buying Blizzard is not that bad, buying Blizzard's horrible. Because the only thing that truly matters from the Blizzard point of things is probably Call of Duty. Everything else is getting wrecked.
you actually see that every element of growth in Xbox's financials was driven by Activision Blizzard, which sure does say something about the underlying Xbox business kind of.
Also, I didn't actually read this. I thought he's going to explain to us, but yeah, I see some red flags. For example, gaming. Gaming revenue grew 43% up to 44 concurrent, including 34% net impact from Activision acquisition. Well, yeah, if you're gonna spend $80 billion on something, you better hope that it increases how much you are actually generating in this field. And considering they acquired Activision Blizzard, Call of Duty, Diablo 4, and World of Warcraft, and I guess Overwatch, 4 major brands that are based off of just purely selling microtransactions to generate real revenue, the fact that it's only 43% is shit. Okay? This is absolutely sad. Xbox hardware revenue declined 28%. That's insane. Xbox content and service revenue grew 61%, including the 53 points. And this can be explained also with the obvious acquisition of Activision Blizzard. Because, well, this also has like a 1% Starfield, I guess, in it. But, you know, the World of Warcraft new expansion, this number increases. Everything else, Diablo 4 new expansion, this number increases. Diablo 4 in general, this number increases. But these are not the increases that they are probably aiming for. That is the bad part. So all of these numbers, not actually good. Not actually good. They should be bigger.
Which sure does say something about the underlying Xbox business kind of struggling. Okay, it's rather grim, and today we have got two things. Thing number one, Xbox's reported goal is 100 million Game Pass subscribers by 2030. That would be triple the number of Game Pass subscribers as of the Activision Blizzard King acquisition. And two, and this is a ginormous one, analysts are now suggesting the cost of Game Pass is really quite gargantuan, to the tune of 80% of sales being cannibalized, which is absolutely insane. So you want to...
Yes, this was expected. I don't understand. I'm sorry, am I the only one who expected that? Obviously. Because they're trying to switch their whole business to Game Pass, which means all of the games, and I talked about this, that it is actually horrible that they are putting new releases on Game Pass, that they are so uncertain about the power of their brand that they are literally, like, Starfield, day one, Game Pass. That is so horrible. All of this is on Game Pass. That is so horrible. That means they have no confidence at all in their products. Jesus. And, well, it's Starfield. I don't blame them, honestly. But, yes, Game Pass obviously is going to cannibalize those sales. And the thing with Game Pass is, if your AAA game costs like $70, $100 to buy, and it's all on Game Pass, that means that you need to lock in one person for roughly a year on Game Pass to say that it was worth it. You know? The expected return on investment is something like 8 months on average, I think. It's insane. It is insane. And with people like me constantly yelling that Game Pass is a scam, spreading the word, and other people are constantly also yelling Game Pass is a scam. Because listen, if you're not using Game Pass for a single month, you better cancel that subscription. You better just... This is what everyone should be doing. If you're going to use Game Pass, which I suggest not to, because you need to play 5 AAA games to actually make it worth your time to buying Game Pass, otherwise you're losing money, you should get Game Pass, cancel it immediately, renew it next month, and cancel it immediately again. That's how you should do it with Game Pass. Because all of these companies are primarily trying to get the opportune moment when they know that this is going to happen. This is the thing with subscriptions. People don't cancel them. Even if people are not using a subscription, majority of people don't cancel them. And this is how they try to get you. They hope that you are going to forget to cancel your Game Pass subscription because you're not using it for a month or whatever. And it's $10 only.
I want to sit down for this one, preferably on today's sponsor. We're FlexiSpot, and I partner with them because I seriously think they can actually help you.
Sounds bad. Internet, hello? Oh, because I'm uploading a thing. Oops, well, that's my bad. Well,
check them out now. With that 100 million goal, Game Pass is absolutely plan A for them, and after the price hikes, it's $14.99 for day one games and consoles, $11.99 for the same in PC, or $19.99 for both, plus cloud streaming. So for their console base, that is $179.88 a year for access to a games library that, as an example, through 2024.
By the way, currently, some people may also say that this is worth it, but you need to understand, this thing is going to go the Netflix route. Next year, it's going to be $5 extra to buy the Game Pass. And after that, it's going to be $2 extra. Now you have to deal with inbuilt unskippable ads on your Game Pass. And if you don't want ads, you need to buy Xbox Gold. It's $30 or something a month. This thing is gonna be wildly inefficient in a couple of years. Because the only way to increase the Game Pass numbers at a certain point is gonna be just increasing the money you get per user, not actually the user amount. Because Xbox is probably gonna hit the wall on that really hard, harder than a 40-year-old woman.
Before had 137 games, which is just over $4,600 in value, technically, added, and of those, 37 were day one. Some of them were fairly big hits, like your Pal Worlds, your Frostpunk 2s, your Manor Lords, like from the indies, and then you got the top tier ones and 6 first parties.
Frostpunk 2 underperformed by a lot, by the way, sadly. I liked the game, I played it, it was cool, but, I mean, I got 20 hours of enjoyment out of it, pretty good, but it underperformed a lot.
Most notably, I think, are Blop 6 and Indiana Jones. So, if you are
Indiana Jones completely underperformed. I would be surprised if they recuperated even 5% of development costs with this shit.
To not own your video games.
And best part, it wasn't even that woke, it was just bad. I mean, Bethesda tried everything they could to do. They literally had a guy with 20 different rainbow pins and the pink hair color saying, Indiana Jones The Great Circle is made for modern audiences. I'm gay, by the way. And that's it. Everyone did not buy it from that moment. That's how powerful marketing is. One wrong move like that and no one's gonna buy that shit. And turns out this game is not woke. This game is actually very refreshing how normal the interactions between females and males is in the game. It's really like a breath of fresh air, honestly. But it's still a bad game. It's still bad. It's still a 5 out of 10.
And to just have access...
And it still sold 0 copies, effectively.
...to a library... Yeah, you can say it's a pretty banging deal. Almost as if a massive tech company is dumping truckloads of money into some sort of big strategic initiative. Yeah. That's definitely what's happening. And for developers, Game Pass is something that has changed. So one, Game Pass deals are much harder to come by these days, even though, like, yes, it is indies, third parties, etc., that still bulk the pass out. And the less good news here is not just being said by bitter indies who didn't get deals, it's actually being said by teams who have previously championed Game Pass. We've heard from so many different sources that it's been pretty rough over there. When deals do happen, they're also smaller these days. But for the longest time, we had all heard the line, Game Pass deals increase your sales. And yeah, there's cases where that could happen, but it's also suspiciously close to, you'll get so much exposure. We'll pay you with that exposure. And now we've got an analyst pointing out just how bad that can actually be. Here's Christopher Dring. Until recently, he was of GameIndustry.biz, and he has been doing trade journalism for 17 years. He is a very well-connected guy, and in a Q&A, he dropped this. Anecdotally, games that are in Game Pass can expect to lose around 80% of its expected premium sales on Xbox. It's less if it's a big mainstream release, but generally... ... look at how low Hellblade 2 charted, or where Indiana Jones came, or...
I'm sorry. I mean, he's right in general that you should expect this. But the fact that he's like, oh, look at Hellblade, a woke shitstorm, didn't perform, are you kidding me? Who the hell is gonna play Hellblade 2 in the first situation? And again, Hellblade 2 sounds based and whatnot, but it's actually a empowered female warrior's tale about dealing with mental illness in the stupidest way that's super cringe. And Indiana Jones, like, bro, this guy is actually so wrong. He's effectively saying, oh, look at this numbers for this game. They're bad because of the Game Pass. That's such cope. So this guy is right, but he's wrong because he's wrong in his reasoning. He just accidentally got right. Jesus.
Or even Starfield. Game Pass clearly hurt sales of those.
Man, being a professional at anything nowadays is... If you're a professional and you're not one of the best, you're probably really trash. You're probably wrong most of the time. Ouch. 17 years of experience being a journalist. Loser.
Those titles on Xbox. So yes, you're in a strange situation where Game Pass can cannibalize loads of sales, meaning that these Xbox titles don't actually appear as high up as you could expect on sales charts. Now, 80% is a hell of a lot, and the rub here is that Microsoft cannot sell games on their own platform, which does make sense. I mean, why buy a new game when you can just access that game for far less money, while for that same amount of money also getting access to loads of other games? In fact, Microsoft themselves even told regulators, right, during the ABK acquisition, that they fully expect to see a decline in real sales for at least a year, which of course makes perfect sense, especially a single-player narrative
At least a year. What do you mean?
game like Indiana Jones or Hellblade 2. Why would you pay full price for something that you'll play once or twice through, right? You're just not going to do that. It doesn't make sense. Microsoft are knowingly sacrificing vast quantities of upfront money, but they're doing it for a reason. They know that their own walled garden is pathetic, so they've changed tact. It's now less about them having a walled garden and more them being an invasive species and making their way into other people's walled gardens. Rather shockingly, my phone is an Xbox, my iPad an Xbox, you are an Xbox. Sadly, my fridge is not an Xbox, but basically, this is actually an Xbox, is the crux of their latest marketing campaign for everything. The idea basically is that every device you have, anything with a screen, will of course work with Game Pass Ultimate's cloud streaming. So if you buy a new TV, there's a pretty damn high chance that you'll have Xbox pre-installed on it. And that's, as an example, why Microsoft ultimately abandoned their streaming stick, you know, a bit like a Fire Stick or a Chromecast. They just realized there wasn't actually any point in them making the hardware because it's just streaming. The big picture idea, though, is that Xbox...
The reason that that they don't want to make the hardware is because they got outcompeted by PlayStation like there's no tomorrow. The reason they are in this situation is because they got outcompeted by PlayStation so hard.
Is a thing that is everywhere, that you can access anywhere, and if you want to access it the best way, you can buy their console and access it that way. Now, obviously, this would all be shit if your saves were fragmented, but...
Wait, now that I think about it, the Xbox situation almost seems like some tech bro has decided to just make everything in the world a console, so you want to, you know, buy the Game Pass, because everything in the world is a console now. Was this idea created by an insane tech bro? Because it sounds as stupid as your typical tech bro ideas. Like, how about trains, but less effective and smaller? How about tunnels that could potentially have transportation, but in giant cars that only 2 people can sit in at a time? How about skyscrapers, but on the land and vertical? Don't call it a house, though. Call it a landscraper. Because that's cool. How about we make something that allows us to sell light to people? Yeah, let's bury shit into the ground and sell them artificial light. Yeah, this sounds like a tech bro scam, honestly, slightly at this point.
The updated Play Anywhere system is going to sort that out, which basically just means everything is an Xbox, nothing is an Xbox, but that's actually their plan. Because those people arguing that Microsoft are abandoning their console, in a way, are not wrong. Take the Switch 2 from Nintendo. Right now, it's actually heavily rumored that Xbox is going to be one of the most prolific publishers on that thing, which, again, does make sense. And take this statement, right? The era of Xbox having permanent console exclusives is over. That is a quote from Jez Corden, who is somebody who writes for Windows Central. He has got inside...
The reason why they want to get rid of exclusivity is because every game pretty much nowadays, especially from AAA, is making most of its money not from day one sales, but microtransactions. So, if Xbox can't sell their games so they have exclusive access to the microtransactions because PlayStation is out competing themselves, they might as well sell their shit to PlayStation and get like a 70-30 split from every microtransaction that they do. Which in turn, by the way, is making PlayStation free money. Xbox is unironically currently making PlayStation free money with their microtransactions because there is no world where Xbox has the capability, leverage to tell PlayStation, no, we're gonna sell our games on your platform, but you're not gonna take any cut of the microtransaction revenue. Not happening. Not happening at all.
Sources. So, is Xbox abandoning their console? I think the answer is yes. It is certainly not Plan A anymore, but there's a reason why they're abandoning it. Because we all abandoned it first, and they still need to grow. But actually, for gaming, growth is elusive. And if you're an enthusiast like me, this will catch you by surprise. Take a look at this chart. It's fascinating, and it's from Epelion CEO Matthew Ball. Now, this is a recent report, but it focuses on older data and basically how the industry changed up to this generation. But it really does matter. So take a look at this line. It says high performance. And that basically is, your Xboxes, your PlayStations, not your handhelds. And between generations, right? It's flat. The thing...
What does this mean, high performance? The hell does that word even mean?
That's growing console sales basically is the Nintendo Switch. So essentially, as we moved from PS3 to PS4, Xbox 360 to Xbox One, we didn't see high-performance consoles as a sector grow in a massive way, which honestly a lot of people would find quite surprising. As for this console generation, it's actually a little bit more grim. So as of 6 months ago, the PS5 had sold 61.8 million units. The PS4 had sold ever so slightly fewer units in the same amount of time, but the lifetime sales of the PS4 are 117 million. So with those numbers, you can immediately...
Yep. You know what this means? Xbox fanboys just buy faster, but PlayStation wins overall.
Tell that a lot of people did not just by default hop onto the new console generation from Sony. But where the big picture becomes clear is taking a look at Xbox. This is from Wall Street Journal's reporting, and 28.3 million units. That is under half what Sony have done in this generation. And of course, if Sony are ever so slightly defeating their past results...
This doesn't matter. Everyone knows that console sales are literally just a means to an end to sell the games, and nowadays microtransactions. These numbers are not even that worrying. The fact that they are just going down. Also, the fact of the matter is, you can see that these numbers are going down by the same margin, almost 50%. Okay, they're going down by 50% almost for both of them simultaneously. That means that people just don't care about PlayStations and whatnots in general that much, or they don't feel that there's a need to buy anything. And I think that's true, because think about it. PlayStation 5 Pro Edition, aka the Concord tax, costs $700 for literally 0% better performance. People are not gonna really buy that. The same shit you can play on PlayStation 4, you can probably play on PlayStation 5.
But Xbox are really doing quite terribly. What that basically means is the overall sector hasn't really grown for high-performance consoles. So let's put this together. The Nintendo Switch is pretty damn massive, 146 million sales, and PC is on the up. As an example, PC spending is estimated to be 20% higher than in 2021, and we keep on seeing Steam hit like new heights in terms of concurrency and all of those stats. So if you're wondering what the deal here is and why I just assaulted you with loads of facts and numbers and stuff, basically here's why. They can see the writing on the wall. We can all see the writing on the wall. It's probably why we didn't all go and buy Series X's. And because the Series install base is so low, they're obviously not doing a competitor to the PS5 Pro. They have officially said they're not going to do that. But in a way, they see the PS5 Pro as a faster horse. They see themselves as Henry Ford. So even for them, resources are limited. Why would they waste those resources on the Pro version of an already defeated console when they can start investing on winning tomorrow in a new market? A market informed by the fact that high-performance console growth...
In a market you can't theoretically win. Again, Xbox selling their shit on PlayStation means PlayStation gets a cut of the microtransaction revenue. You're effectively saying, hey, we're gonna... You just make these consoles and we're gonna give you a bunch of money for free. How about that? Yeah, I mean, if this is called Microsoft winning, I don't honestly know. I don't even know honestly what to think about that anymore. This is just so wild. I don't even want to listen to the last Billiard fucking bonanza. This is just like peak off. Anyway, that was Billiard news. 10 out of 10. Bye.